Begin Trig Notes number 2. We are going to be working on evaluating our trig functions, and before we start, you are going to need to have your calculator, so please get that out now. On your calculator, you need to go into the mode and make sure it is in degree mode. So if you look at my calculator right here, if I go to mode, which is located right here, right down here, you need to make sure it's in degree mode. You go down and you hit enter on it to make sure that it's in degree mode. Okay? The first thing we are going to do is just evaluate. And that's just simply using the calculator. If I want to find the sine of a 30-degree angle on my calculator, I simply press the sine key and then 30 degrees and hit enter, and that is going to be 0.5. Please try this along with me. If I want to find the cosine of 85 degrees, I go to the cosine key, cosine of 85 degrees, hit enter, and I'm going to go 3 decimal places, 0.087. And finally, let's do a tangent one. If I want to find the tangent of 2 degrees on my calculator, I'm going to get tangent of 2 degrees into 3 decimal places, 0.035. And that is how you evaluate a trig function. Next, we're going to talk about solving trig equations. Example 1. Let's say that the sine of 50 degrees is equal to x over 5. Now, from what we just did up in this first part, you can see that the sine of 50 degrees is just going to be equal to some type of decimal, right? So this is really just a number, and then it's equal to some ratio. So my strategy is always going to be to place this over 1, and that way you get a fraction equal to a fraction, which is a proportion. And how do we solve proportions? We cross multiply. So in this case, I have x equals 5 times the sine of 50. And then we can go straight to our calculator. Please do this along with me. 5 times the sine of 50 is 3.83. Let's look at another example. This time, I'm going to have the cosine of 58 degrees is equal to 8 over y. This one's a little bit different because y is in the denominator, but we are going to treat it exactly the same. I'm going to put the cosine of 58 over 1. Now I have a fraction equal to a fraction, so I can cross multiply. So I have 8 times 1, which is 8, equals y times the cosine of 58 degrees. Now I'm solving for y, and it is multiplying by cosine of 58. So I need to divide by the cosine of 58. And that gives me a y on this side. And then I'm going to go 8 divided by the cosine of 58. And I get 15.097. Take the time to try this on your calculator now. If you need to pause the video at any time, please do so. One more example. I'm going to have the tangent of 21 degrees is equal to 12 over y. I'm going to put the tangent of 21 over 1, and then I'm going to cross multiply. 12 times 1 is 12. In this direction, I have y times the tangent of 21. Divide both sides by the tangent of 21 degrees. And I have, well, I got to go to my calculator, 12 divided by the tangent of 21. And I get 31.26. And that is my y value. Again, make sure that you are getting these values on your own. Last example, a little bit different. Now I'm going to switch things up a little bit. We're going to let the sine of the angle theta equal 3 over 8. And I want to find the tangent of theta and the cosine of theta. Now this is a little bit different, so we're going to start by drawing a triangle and labeling one of the angles theta. Now, reviewing back to our previous notes, SOHCAHTOA. I know that sine is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. So if I come over here, I know that the sine of my angle is equal to 3 over 8. In other words, the opposite over the hypotenuse. Come over to my triangle. Here's theta. Opposite theta would then be 3. And the hypotenuse, which is opposite the right angle, would be 8. Now, in order to find this third side, I need to use Pythagorean theorem. So let's just call that A right now. A squared plus 3 squared equals 8 squared. Using Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus 9 equals 64. I'm going to subtract the 9. A squared is going to equal 55. Take the square root of both sides, and A is going to equal the square root of 55. I'm going to put that in my picture. Now, I can evaluate the tangent of theta. Up here in my SOHCAHTOA, tangent is the opposite over the adjacent. So come up to theta. Opposite is 3 over the adjacent, which is the square root of 55. And we're done. Cosine of theta, well, I know that cosine is the adjacent over the hypotenuse. So you come up to theta. The adjacent side is the square root of 55, and the hypotenuse is 8. This concludes notes number 2.